Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, the home of slightly above average FPL content. Now today, it felt a little bit too soon to be moving on to Gameweek 32 videos, so I thought instead we'd do a sort of a recap of the project restart so far. So maybe a week and a half ago, I put out some tips for project restart. I think some of those tips still stand. Some of them need a little bit developing on, and some of the tips I gave were completely wrong, as it turns out. So I want to take the data that we've got since project restart and try and give you some tips based on that. To see if we can capitalise and just give ourselves the edge over our FPL opponents, whether that's mini leagues, overall ranks, whatever. We are going to get straight into it. But first of all, if you are new around here, please do consider subscribing. I'm aiming to get 1,000 subscribers before the start of the next season. So I think that's really possible, but I can only do it with your help. So with that said, let's move on to the tips. So my first tip is that there's been a lot of low-scoring matches, and we've got to think about how we're going to capitalise on this. So there's been loads of clean sheets. In Game Week 30 plus, 9 out of the 20 teams got a clean sheet. City actually got 2 clean sheets in that game week. In this Game Week 31 plus, so far, 3 out of the 4 teams that have played have a clean sheet. So again, more and more clean sheets. There's been 3 0-0s so far. So is it something that we want to be thinking about with switching formations? If not a lot of teams are scoring goals, if a lot of teams are keeping clean sheets, is it that we want to be moving on to more defenders in our teams, whether that's 4 at the back, maybe even 5 at the back? Maybe we're taking away at least one of the strikers, so we're not playing 3 at the front anymore, maybe switching to 2 at the front. I think that's really worth having a little think about, because as I say, like, more than half of the teams in the league have already got a clean sheet to their name, and it's been 16 games. So yeah, that's massive. Loads and loads of clean sheets, far more than normal. So yeah, switch formations, and then maybe we can send an email to FPL asking them kindly if we can have 2 goalkeepers, because I think that would also be very useful if that were possible. My next tip is that I don't think home and away matter. Now, I did say this before on that last video, but now it is very much backed up by data. So let's go through the stats real quick. So of the matches so far, there's been 5 draws, 5 home wins, and 4 away wins. So I'll put the percentages on screen or something so you can see that. But it's pretty balanced. Now, if you consider that Manchester City have played 2 home games during that time, and you want to take away them because, I mean, they're Man City, they just win every game anyway, then it skews even more, and it goes down to 5 draws, 3 home wins, and 4 away wins. So there's really not really very much in it. And arguably, what you can take away from all this is that there's far more draws than usual as well. So not only do home and away not really matter, but there's loads of draws. Now, could it be that there's a lot of draws because teams aren't pushing themselves to win the matches because does it really matter? I mean, it's in the middle of a global pandemic, blah, 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 blah. They're a bit lethargic. They don't want to push themselves to win, and both teams are perhaps happy to settle on a draw, particularly the teams that don't have much to play for. They might just be thinking, you know what, a point suits us. Same with relegation-threatened teams. They might be thinking, you know what, a point is fine given the circumstances, rather than going for the win. So yeah, loads and loads of draws, and absolutely nothing to suggest that home teams or away teams are particularly better. So we'll keep an eye on that, but so far it could be the case that because there's no crowds, home and away doesn't matter, and that's what I'm taking from it so far. So next tip is that bottom teams are bottom for a reason. Now, before, a lot of other people were saying, hey, these bottom teams, they're going to come out, they're going to absolutely be going for it in these last few games. Let's load our teams up with Bournemouth and Norwich players, because there's no way they're going to come back without a fight. And it turns out they absolutely have come back without a fight, because these teams are not very good for a very good reason. They're at the bottom for a good reason, and with all respect to the teams, that they're not quite at the right level. You could say exactly the same for West Ham as well. Rubbish before, rubbish now. Some things don't change, and perhaps we'd be a little bit suspicious about putting in those relegation threatened players. But food for thought. Next tip is that there's been loads of injuries. Players coming back, not having a proper pre-season, and having months and months out of football. And it seems to be loads of injuries, like at least an injury a match, maybe even 2 injuries a match. Which means a lot of people are instead of using their free transfers to bring in a player they actually want, they're actually using their free transfers to get out a player that is now injured. We're talking like Leno's, Aguero's. These players are now injured, and we have to suddenly find replacements to them when perhaps we were quite content with our teams, or we wanted to bank transfers, or maybe we wanted to use our transfer on other areas of the team, but now we can't do that because there are injuries. I guess the way of countering that is to either accept that everyone's going to be taking hits and don't worry about taking a hit yourself, or having enough on your bench that if there is sort of 1-2 game injuries, you can cover that with having like at least 1 or 2 okay players on your bench. I think that's the route I'm going to try and go to, just because I need to play my bench boost at some point anyway, so I'm happy to have a strong bench. So that's what I'm going to be going for. Next up is that Manchester City are a bigger rotation risk than ever. So of their 2 games that they've played so far, in the second game, only 3 out of the 11 players that started the first game started the second game. So that's 9 changes between the first and the second game they played, which is absolutely insane. This is not gonna change. So their schedule is incredibly congested. They played obviously on Monday, 22nd. Then they play Thursday, the 25th against Chelsea. That's tomorrow, if you're watching this on the day I upload this. And then Sunday, the 28th in the FA Cup. Thursday, the 2nd of July against Liverpool. And then from there, it literally goes every 3 days. They play another match. So their fixtures are so congested that arguably the rotation goes so far that you can start to predict it. If a player plays 90 minutes in tomorrow's match, for example, you could confidently say that they perhaps won't start in the following game. And if a player perhaps doesn't start or only gets 20 minutes at the end of one game, next game you might think, actually, right, he might be coming on this time. So that's the kind of way you could try and look at it in a positive way. But for me, I just think I'm going to say, no thank you, Manchester City players. I ain't touching you. I am not touching you, particularly when they've got nothing to play for. And they might actually be more focused on the FA Cup. But there are a couple of players that I might want to keep an eye on. Jesus, just because there's no one else in his position, although that's never stopped Pep before. But there's no other strikers that can play when Aguero is now injured. And maybe Phil Foden, just because he's so cheap. So if he doesn't play, it's really not the end of the world, is it? And that is pretty much it for the tips, other than I just want to squeeze this in. I can't resist. There are a couple of players that I think are nailed on essentials now. There's only 3, and the 3 are Bruno Fernandes, Jimenez and Doherty. And no matter where you are with your team right now, whether you're chasing rank, whether you're trying to hold rank, whatever, these are the 3 players you absolutely must have in your team. They were smashing it before the break, and they're smashing it after the break, and just get them, just have them. And that concludes my tips for today. I know a slightly shorter video than usual, but I did want to get something out today. Because I want to do a couple of videos per game week, but because of the game weeks coming and going so fast, it really is absolutely crazy at the moment. There'll be a game week preview video as usual. Probably do that on Friday. On Thursday I'll do my team selection video. Very congested with all the fixtures, so yeah, it's all coming thick and fast. I'm absolutely loving it. I hope you guys are loving it too. Yeah, you're enjoying the Premier League. Please do let me know your thoughts on these tips, or if there's anything else that you've noticed that's happened in the Premier League that's made you think, all right, maybe that's something we can take away. Or do you disagree with some of my tips perhaps? I'm not sure. Just let me know. And if you are new around here, please do consider subscribing. It means a hell of a lot to me. Like buttons there if you like the video. Please do show me that you like it, I guess, so I know that I'm doing something right, or know if I'm doing something wrong. And that's it. I'll stop waffling on now. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I will catch you on the next one. See you later, mates.